Okay, talk to you after. I won't hit you for, ULI or anything. No, but we do appreciate your, because it's, and at the presentation, I think it was last program, all the logos there. Yeah, Alexandra's really been a great manager of ULI. So, should be shoes to fill with Diane, yeah. So, I'm just amazed at how active they are. I mean, the number of programs on and it's great. I look at all these on the board and they're all You're self-included.
I keep having to do reality check. I'm not sure.
We have a signing sheet if you're interested. No pressure, no pressure.
Good. We've had like OEM professionals and like, I don't need those emails. I'm like, way past that.
Agree with that. Last couple years, grown up.
Adulting, is that what my son says?
Well, from a business perspective.
Yeah.
To the drive?
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about. I've been lunch. And I'll be back in this afternoon too.
Oh, real now?
Yeah, I know. Hopefully I won't press.
Yeah.
I don't even think of it anymore.
What's that?
I don't even think of the drive anymore.
No. I think it's a pleasant drive, as long as Amber doesn't get you on the
Yeah.
construction there.
Oh, it's bad going, when I was coming this morning, there was something at their side, I swear it was backed up also.
Yeah, this weekend, Sunday, at like 4 o'clock, I was coming back. And that construction there, I didn't have any idea. It goes down to one lane, but we were in traffic, probably 8 to 10 miles before we.
I was coming back, my family in South Florida, and we were coming back, and it was
Scout House. I'm writing a letter. I'm writing a little bit of back here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I just received your letter. And last week I was on vacation in an area.
That's what we should have done. I think.
Whatever you want. Let me find what Zach wrote. I didn't know what it was.
And then I come down and
still,
and then I come back and my phone again, 45. I already passed the last exit.
I just explained that. Really well.
And you wish I was a lot, right? Yeah, right, more power to you,
You
but.
talk with your neighbors, they would like to have access to that.
Another case.
Oh,
I'm not sure where.
yeah, it was.
They have to get the property owners to go. It might take long,
Yeah.
to be able to change their flag. And
We went down one way, like we went down all the mountain. Then we came back up.
Yeah.
Pull it together, you know.
Well, and
And as much as I like to help people, I can't go.
I just got to stop that. He wants to build something there.
Yeah.
It was a gravel road up the back. It was kind of cool.
Yes.
That's not it. That's August 5th. Today's the 4th.
We're seeing more. You'll see him this afternoon, apparently.
And I think we're gonna,
Yeah.
Yeah, I want tour. I want
My
tour.
word.
that's what
You're a
I
hard one to shoot.
said. I said, yeah, you're a warrior, and he called himself a mercenary.
A mercenary. I understand those guys get paid very well, but it's pretty dangerous too.
Okay. Good morning. It is Tuesday, August 4th. All three commissioners are here. Monica Reeves is doing the deputy clerk duties. We have a public hearing before us this morning, and it's to consider a request by West Park Company Incorporated Osprey Estate Subdivision for a comprehensive plan amendment, a conditional rezone and preliminary plat. That is case number OR 2019-0009 and CR 2019/009 and SD 2019-0036. So we have the ordinance, the additional rezone, and the preliminary plat. Okay, comprehensive plan amendment. And I have two people in here signed up to speak, Heath Clark and Joshua Fry on WebEx. And welcome to you that are on WebEx. We have Dan Lister, who is our planner with DSD. Tricia Nielsen, the director of DSD, is here in the meeting room with us. Caleb LeClaire, you are on WebEx. Are you going to testify from City of Nampa?
I'm just here to answer questions if the commissioners have any.
So we will go ahead and swear you in, Caleb, okay?
Sounds good?
Okay, just a second. And then we have Lauren Pick online. Are you there, Lauren? You're muted. Now you are unmuted. Lauren, are you going to wish to testify?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And Sandra Hopkins?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Are you going to testify?
No.
Okay, very good. And I don't see anybody else. Monica, did I miss anybody? Okay.
Madam Chair, can I ask quick, did you say Caleb LeClaire represents the city of Nampa?
He's with the City of
Okay,
Nampa.
okay, thanks.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I also have a question, and for our planner, Dan. Morning, Dan. I am wondering, we continue to receive late exhibits. How many exhibits should we have altogether?
Staff only sent 2. That was numbers 34 and 33. Oh, sorry, 23. I'm sorry. Yeah.
24, that makes more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, 23 is Beverly Warren and 24 is the one I sent today from Jeff.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
Almeida.
That makes more sense.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. At this time, we will have Monica swear these people in. Tricia Nielsen, Heath Clark, Joshua Fry, Dan Lister, Caleb LeClaire, do you swear or from the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Before you today is a request by the applicant, West Park Company Incorporated, provided is a subdivision, Osprey Estate Subdivision. The request before you first is a comprehensive plan amendment. This is an amendment to change the future land use designation for these parcels down below, right here, from agriculture to residential. With that is a request for a conditional rezone of all the properties you see in question here from agriculture to an R1 zone. This includes a development agreement to limit development to 184 residential lots, as shown in the Osprey subdivision, as part of that subdivision, which would be served by city water and a central community sewer treatment facility. This here shows the plat, the subdivision before you. 202 lots, which is 184 residential lots and 17 common lots and 1 community sewer facility lot. This would be served by water. This would be in 4 phases, as you can see on the screen. This is a little history right here. This property was scheduled back in 2005 and 2006 for this type of development. Same idea, city connection to city water, community sewer system. Unfortunately, as we know, the economy took a dive and a lot of these projects expired because they didn't move forward with them.
Dan, will you show again the 4 phases?
Oh, the 4 phases, yes. So,
Okay.
yeah, so you can see phase 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
So this is the kind of the layout that was provided, showing the green areas, the area of the community system right there, and then some of the lot sizes provided. There's a few closer to Lewis Lane up this way here. That will be 12,000 square foot lots, which is allowed in an R1 zone when they're connecting to city services or community service systems. And then the rest of them are predominantly half-acre lots, and then there'll be a few 1-acre lots, about 5 of them. So this subdivision, again, is 184 residential lots. This is about a 0.53 acre average lot size. There will be 3 main access points, 1 off of Lewis, and then there'll be 2 off of Southside Boulevard. This will be served by city water, Nampa City Water, and the sewer system, community sewer system provided, will provide sewer facilities for all the lots. Irrigation will be pressurized throughout the whole system, and then there will be storm drainage areas engineered to catch all the drainage from the road system throughout there, and all lots will maintain their drainage on site. Going through the requirements, as you see on the findings we have to make for a comprehensive plan amendment and a conditional rezone, we have to find that it's conformance with our comprehensive plan, that it's a better change for the area. So is it a more appropriate zone? Is it a more appropriate designation? Is it compatible with the surrounding? Does development trends show this type of growth in this area? Will they have adequate facilities? Will it create traffic impacts? Does it have adequate access? Will it impact surface and groundwater? Will there be essential services available? So we have to answer all that as part of our the report. And as you can see in that report, which is quite lengthy, sorry about that, there's a lot of analysis in that shows that they can meet these findings, and we'll go through that. As you can see on this map, this is our future land use map to the left. To the north, you can see most of the subdivision is in an area where we're foreseeing a future growth of residential in this area. Only about 27 acres to the south is located outside of the area of city impact, where agricultural designation is shown for the future. This is very similar to the right, which is the Nampa future land use plan, where they're showing a low-density residential use throughout this area, except the area below the where it's outside of the city impact, where they're showing agricultural. With discussions with, so one of the conditions we have is, actually, it's not a condition. It's one of the things that the applicant's going to do as part of the agreement with the city. The city is also going to expand their city area of city impact to include this 27 acres. So it's within the city at the end of the day, and shown as part of the low density residential. So they will be working on that, and they have to have that completed before that phase, which is phase 3.
Dan, Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Dan, could I ask a question?
Sure.
Can you show us, I was looking through this, how far are they from city limits and where is that?
The city limits, I don't think I have it on this map, unfortunately.
Okay.
Isn't it a half
Yeah,
mile?
it's a little bit north. It's further north up. I think the nearest one is off of Locust, and south side is we start seeing the city limits.
Okay.
So it's just a block or so away. So zoning. Okay. So this map here. This is the zoning map, which shows the current zoning throughout the area. You see a lot of rural residential zoning throughout the area, and then to the west is some recent approvals for an R1 zone, and we'll go through that. The map to the right shows the vicinity map of current lots. Our staff report kind of describes those lots adjacent to it. So we have current horse ranching facility right here. This is a pallet business right through here, and there's just some open land throughout here. Then these are Red Fox Estate subdivision, where a lot of divisions have been approved recently, and we can go through that in a bit, but just showing the surrounding areas here. So our comprehensive plan, we feel that this development meets a lot of the criteria or the encouragements within our comprehensive plan. So there's a few I bullet pointed on here, which encourages high density development within incorporated cities and or areas of city impact. Again, a lot of this is within a city of impact area and has the potential to be annexed in the future. That's actually one of the agreements that they have to, with the city, that they have to annex when available as part of this approval.
And I have a question for you. And I'm sorry, it's pertinent to what you're talking about with the annexation for the city of Nampa. So that 27-acre parcel that is south, that is not currently included in the city limits, you indicated that it would be a low-density residential when it was. And I wanted to look at that map again. You have 5 lots that are 1 acre size, but they're more in the northwest corner, if I saw that correctly. So what is the plan for the density on that 27-acre parcel? Will that be a straight line across there? Do you have any indications on the city what that will look like?
So I can barely hear you. You're kind of far away from the speaker or the microphone. So I got some of that.
Okay. Is this better? Can you hear me now?
You just sound so far away. So it's kind of hard to hear. I'll try to turn up my headset.
I
mean, I can increase the sound.
But it comes through here.
There, just let me.
That's just Dan's volume, that's not her volume.
Can you hear me now?
It still sounds distant, but I'll try to hear again. It sounds like you're talking about that 27 acres to the south.
Correct, and you said that that would eventually be annexed into the city of Nampa on a rural designation. So I'm wondering what the lot sizes are planned for that. The 1 acre look like they're in the northwest corner of the proposed development. So what will that look like, and will they just draw a line across it consistent with the southern border of that property, or do you have any idea what that looks like?
Well, so at the end, they're not asking for, it's not going to be a rural designation. So when they eventually annex it over, so if this gets approved and the comprehensive plan goes through and the rezone, it'll be an R1 zoning. And it's going to be based off the conceptual plan right here. So these are half-acre lots consistent with an R1 zoning and what they're proposing as part of the development agreement. So they're not going over 184, but it exceeds, it goes into that area, and this is in compliance with the city of Nampa's low-density residential designation, which is, I think, between 1 to 3 units per acre.
And that's the clarification I was looking for. I got the low-density residential confused with the rural. I just, there's a lot of information and pieces on this, so thanks for the clarification.
No problem. So going back to the comprehensive plan, there's a lot within that staff report showing that it is in line with our comprehensive plan. Just going through it, there's requirements or encouragements in there where residential development in areas to encourage residential development in areas where agricultural uses are not viable. Encourage compatibility with residential areas and zones within the county. Subdivisions within city impact areas should connect to city services. That development should address concerns regarding roads, lighting, drainage, stormwater, landscaping, pressurized irrigation is encouraged, and then provide for orderly development. I believe as we go through, you'll see that this development hits all those marks. This is development that can be annexed into the city. They have to, basically it's an agreement with the city that they have to do that when it's available. They will be connecting to city water. They will have a community sewer system that in the future will be able to, it'll be designed to connect to sewer when it gets closer, when it's available, and it would be able, city sanitary services would be able to connect to that and serve that at that time. So there's mechanisms in place there to allow the city to take that over in the future, those public roads, the facilities. As you will see too in your staff report, there's landscaping plans, drainage facilities, roads, lighting, where City of Nampa is requiring them to do this to meet their standards. So when it gets annexed in, it meets their subdivision requirements and their standards. So one thing about non-viable.
I'm sorry, can I ask you another question? On that community sewer that's eventually planned to tie into the city services, I just wanted you to put on record, there was a letter of objection that talked about they didn't want an open pond, and that's addressed, I believe, in there. Can you just put that on the record that all that effluent and everything that's in there is a contained system that won't be exposed? Is that your understanding?
Correct. And I believe the applicant can address that further, the details of that. At the end, my review of it was with DEQ and Southwest District Health, which they have to go through a substantial monitoring and a review system to even install it. So this will take a while to get the first phase going. And we have conditions requiring them to prove up before we can even, at each phase, to ensure that it will accommodate those lots. So they have a lot to prove prior to final plat. And so, so at the end, we have conditions ensuring that that community system is built to DEQ and Southwest District standards.
Thank you.
Dan,
Yes.
Is that system, this might be for the applicant too, but is that system, would Britannia Heights, would that be comparable to what they are proposing they're going to put in?
Correct. Very similar.
Okay, thank you.
I'll let that applicant address. They have a pretty lengthy PowerPoint presentation. I think will answer a lot of your questions as well. So,
okay. Thank you.
The slide before you shows why this is shown as non-viable farm ground. So we have provided you a geotechnical report, which shows a lot of basalt rock throughout the property. Most of it is, some of it can be seen on the surface. A lot of it's pretty deep, but you can see with this map, which is including your staff report, that this area, the reason why it hasn't been used for agricultural uses is because of the rock situation there. Similarly, in the analysis of the conditional use permit that was previously approved this type of development in 2006 and 2005, they found this to be 61% non-prime ag farmland because of these issues. And so the ground right now is pasture, non-ag. They have not been using it for any agricultural uses for a very long time. Nearby, this shows a map of the nearby dairies, feedlots, and gravel pits. Most of the dairies and gravel pits are over a mile away from the proposed development. The staff does not feel that this is something that will impact their use. All of our subdivisions include a plat note that recognizes this is a right to farm area, and so they would have to, people who buy a house in there have to understand that they are surrounded or near agriculture uses and they may be impacted by it, and that's what they're buying into basically. So it would be something noted in the final plat that they would understand that when they purchase a property. The surrounding zones, so these are showing recent rezones that the commission has approved in the area. You see a lot of the rezones right next door in the Red Fox Estate subdivision to a rural residential zone. These are divisions that occurred within that subdivision, most of them illegally, and they had to fix that by rezoning it and platting them. The most comparable one recently is number 8. That's Table Meadows subdivision. It's an R1 zone. It has very similar lot sizes. And it's also connected to city services. So it's very similar to this development and very close by. Here to the left is showing subdivisions within the area. It shows that there's 43 subdivisions within a 1 mile radius. That's a 0.91 average lot size. To the right shows lot sizes. So you see a lot of red and oranges, which would be very similar to what you would see in this subdivision. Red is indicating lots that are 1 acre or less, and then the oranges are a little over an acre. So this subdivision would be very similar to lot sizes you see to the north and to the northeast. So very comparable to the surrounding residential uses. Development trends, that's one of the things we have to address as part of this. So typically we do look at the TAZ zones that Compass uses to forecast, look at forecasting of population and households. And staff pulled up the community motions plan showing different areas. And so this area is smack dab between County South Rural and Nampa Southeast locations, which, as you see on this slide, current households within that area, and then the jump between now and 2025. In the Canyon South, you're looking at a 10% hike in residential development predicted in this area. And same with Nampa Southeast, you're looking at a 5.8% jump. And by 2040, you're looking at a 35.9% household growth within this area, within County South Rural. And then you're looking at a 20% jump in the Nampa Southeast. And so what we're showing here is Compass commented in one of the exhibits saying this is still agricultural, doesn't have the amenities there to provide that growth. However, they say it's still in compliance with their community in motions plan. The reasoning is because of this predicted growth within those areas. So it shows that there is a household growth and need within that area. And with this being connected to city services and the ability to annex in the future, this is in line with our comprehensive plan and how to develop these type of residential lots, especially these smaller lots that better meet the city's comprehensive plan and requirements. It shows that not only does it meet that trend that we're seeing, but also it meets City of Nampa's requirements. So this is something that a favorable trend for this type of development. Just an overview of the area. Staff is showing some of the schools within that area. So number 1, 2, 3, and 4 show the nearest schools. A lot of these are charter schools. So there's education opportunities out there other than just the public schooling system. We have shopping, groceries, medical services. You see at number 5, it's about 3 miles away along Highway 44, which turns into 12th Avenue, which leads into the city of Nampa and into their downtown area. So it's a very close location to those amenities. You also have recreation. So number 6 on the map is Wilson Springs Pond, where there's fishing and pedestrian trails. The pedestrian pathways to there are eventually going to connect to this lot. So that was one of the deals for the city of Nampa, is that they have a pathway, pedestrian pathway plan that they've approved. And this is one of the parcels that are properties that they wanted a pathway to be connected to there. So they eventually, as they grow that pathway out, that it connects to this property. So they're willing to do that. They're as part of their landscaping and design plans to add those pathways in compliance with the city's requirements. And then I added some more information. Number 7 is just markets and gas stations real close by it along Highway 44 near Lakeshore Road there. And then also I put a star there showing the Highway 44 and south access to Lake Lowell. So from there, there's more recreational opportunities and access to other things. So this area, this slide is demonstrating that this area is very close to the amenities you would want for a residential development, pedestrian trails, schools, shopping, and medical services, and also, just amenities of those sorts. So we did receive comments, as you see in your packet. We received a comment from Nampa School District. They are not opposed to this change. However, they did identify there's a school boundary issue. The school is located in the boundaries of, and I'm trying to remember I'm trying to find the exact wording, but basically they're currently located in a school boundary that may be overcapacity for this type of development. So they're requiring a school boundary change to make sure that the boundary lines change to, I forget, I have to look, I think it's Ronald Reagan Elementary School, Columbia High School, and there's another one. But they have to work with the highway district to get those boundaries changed and also to identify safe bus locations within the subdivision. The developer understands that and has agreed that they would work with the school district at each phase to ensure that these things have occurred, and that they've agreed with, worked with the school district to find that safe bus location within the subdivision. DEQ commented. Most of their comments are just general comments, but one of the things we added as condition is a dust control plan. So during the construction, is identified that there would be probably a lot of dust kicked up from all the improvements. So they would need to submit a dust control plan that would be reviewed and approved by DEQ before moving forward with that construction. Also, they would have to meet DEQ's development pollution requirements and permitting. ITD reviewed the TIS, traffic impact study, and didn't find any issues, and therefore had no conditions to this. City of Nampa Planning and Engineering were not opposed to this. They just wanted conditions that ensured that improvements such as landscaping, sidewalks, drainage, and pathways were met, that they agreed to connect to city water, which includes in that agreement that a deferral, annexation deferral, and also the payment of city impact fees, which is very important. They are agreeing to pay the required city impact fees as part of this, as if they were in the city. Agreement between the city highway district and the developer to allow private services, basically the main line for the community system to go within the public road system. So they have to work on that. Again, the idea behind this is eventually the community sewer system would be something the city's sanitary system would be able to connect to in the future when that service is available, and they would be able to take that over. Highway district had no oppositions as long as they meet their requirements, which is dedication along Lewis and South Side for future expansion, and also 2 turn lanes installed along on Southside Boulevard for entering into the subdivision. Nampa and Meridian Irrigation District were not opposed to this. They actually submitted a letter, which is one of the exhibits, stating that they're currently working with the applicant. They have already purchased all the piping for the improvements required for this development, and so they're already working with the developer on this. And so one of the conditions would be approval from, at the end of, by Nampa and Meridian Irrigation District to give us a letter saying they've done all the improvements that they required, and that none of the existing concrete ditches, anything that serves other properties, were impacted as part of this. And that is very important because we did receive complaints, and I'll get to that next letter right here. We have received many letters. A lot of them had concerns about this development, and I'll go through those concerns. One of them is traffic. That's probably the biggest one we've received, is traffic. Lewis, they're stating Lewis and Southside intersections are horrible and unsafe. Speeds are too fast. So a traffic impact study was prepared for this, and it was reviewed by the City of Nampa, as well as Nampa Highway District, as well as ITD. The conclusion of that report does not find there's any project-related impacts as part of this. What they found is...
I'm sorry, it's part of their, maybe for the applicant, but I found a conflict of information in there. So the impact study that you're talking about doesn't say that they need to have turn lanes, and there's one part that says it doesn't qualify for a 4-way stop at Lewis and Southside, and yet you have that, it's Exhibit 7, that's from you to Terry Shattuck. So who takes priority in determining what the layout, you know, what's going to trump on that? Because one says no turn lanes, no mitigation in the traffic report, and then this from Terry Shattuck says that they'll have to do some mitigation. So I don't know if that's better for the applicant.
I'll try to address some of that, and then the applicant can probably address more of that. And my understanding is this, that TIS didn't require any of that. However, Nampa Highway District said, based on their review, they wanted those turn lanes on Southside Boulevard as part of their requirement. So it's something, after they reviewed the TIS, even though there's no mitigation for that, Highway District found that those turn lanes were important on that Southside Boulevard. So that's what they required, and the applicant agreed to do that. As far as the intersections, if you look at that report, a lot of them are a good level of service. They're not predicted to change those level of service as part of this development, except they did find a deficiency in Locust Lane and Southside. That intersection is already starting to fail, basically. And they're not showing it as a project-related failure. It's an existing failure, basically. But my understanding, based on the report, they already have in place, in Nampa Highway District already has in place improvements by 2025 to put in lights in that area to control those issues there. And so, again, one of the things we have to bring up is this development has to pay city impact fees that go towards those type of improvements. Secondly, this is phased out. So you have 4 phases. They're not predicting to have this phased out until about 2025, 2026, where it's fully in function. So they're going to be phasing this out. So this is not going to be in full use until about 2025, 2026. Where those improvements are already going to be done. They're already planned for those improvements.
Another question for you. So when you're talking about the existing fail on that intersection, I'm looking at page 58 of that traffic impact study, and I appreciate your clarification because that's where it indicates that at the peak hours there's an E and then an F. So I'm assuming that what you're saying is that they already recognize that that intersection is a problem. and that's going to be
Absolutely.
addressed. Okay, I appreciate that, because part of that impact study also indicates that there's no fatality at that intersection. And one of the letters in opposition that lives there says that there are fatalities. So a reconciliation of information that, you know, what really reflects what happens there, because that's highlighted and indicating again that no four-way stop is needed. So you're saying Nampa Highway District is going to require all of that improvement there to help alleviate those objections and concerns.
Yeah, I believe that fatality shows like this year. So this report was probably done, looks like in 2019, so they didn't capture that. But at the same time, I think it doesn't change what they're showing there. They're showing Deer Flat Road at a level B, and this development's not going to change that level. It's really that the focus at the end of the day was Locust Lane and South Boulevard, where they showed the deterioration of that existing traffic pattern there. And then they show the build out, which is they're predicting improvements by the city, either a roundabout or signals, and I believe they're going to go with signals. And it shows that when they put that in, it'll change that level of service from potentially E and F to a level B, which is acceptable in that area. So again, we do have Caleb LeClaire here to further discuss that, if their review of it, and also the applicant, I believe, can probably get into more detail with that if you have any questions.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to say, this is backing up a little bit. You have a lot of great information. It's attachment I that delineates the schools, and that's just for the record. You were looking for that information. So it's East Valley that services that on middle school. So thank you.
New Horizons right out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Am I answering anything, or can I move forward? I can hear the
move
last.
forward, please.
Okay. So we did
No
receive
questions.
we did receive public comments. So traffic was one of them, which we're discussing. Access. There was one letter that believes that there should be a turn lane also added into Lewis Lane, and not just on South Side. The Highway District didn't find that it was necessary. The applicant, again, it sounds like they would do whatever is necessary by the Highway District or the city. Again, that was not asked of them based on the based on their review and also the TIS. One of the concerns too was mailboxes. They want to make sure those mailboxes are not on the outside of the subdivision. That is not the developer's idea. Mailboxes would be located internally in the subdivision, not on the outside. Another concern was high nitrate. This is a high nitrate area with wells showing nitrates levels in there, not anything that exceeds DEQ's requirements, but still wells out there showing that they're high in nitrates. Again, this is going to be served by city water, which is treated, and also a community sewer system facility. So this should address a lot of the high nitrate. This is not going to, at the end, it's going to be something that's approved by DEQ and Southwest District 12 to be treated, treated facility. So these issues, I feel that are already addressed by the type of connections and facilities that they're going to be placing into this development. Again, we received irrigation concerns. There's existing head gates and delivery systems throughout the property that a neighboring property was concerned about. I did reach out to Nampa Highway District this morning just to discuss those issues. Again, one of the concerns brought up is water delivery. This property has not been using their irrigation rights because there's no just pasture. They're not using it, so they're going to be starting to use their water rights, and so the concerns about some of the neighbors is they're going to see less water, and that's not true. They're going to be doing improvements to the Burke lateral and systems within there, a new head gate for this development, the concrete ditches and things like those sorts that are on their state law doesn't allow them to modify those. So they have to keep those in place. If they can improve them, but with approval by the highway or the Nampa irrigation district, things of that matter. But at the end, we have a condition that one, they have to meet Napa Irrigation District's, Napa Meridian Irrigation District requirements, which they're working on right now. But also they have to identify that they're not impacting historical delivery of water to other properties, and that includes current systems on along the property, which is concrete ditches or existing head gates and things like that that they can't disrupt. So they have to prove that up prior to final plat approval.
I have another question for you, and that is, there was a question in there about a delivery and discharge, and I hear what you're saying, that they cannot alter the point of delivery or the point of discharge in there. Is that correct?
Correct. They can only improve and change what is theirs, basically, that's serving them. The state law doesn't prohibits them from disrupting anything that would serve another property. They cannot do that. So the review would by Napa Irrigation would ensure that the final product does not do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then so other concerns were this is good farmland, it's an agriculture area, and it should be protected. As you saw in the geotechnical map, this is not necessarily the best farm ground. It's one adjacent to city development to the north and to the east, or sorry, to the west. And then also you saw a lot of basalt, lava rock throughout the property, making it very difficult to, for irrigation and for agricultural uses. We have received concerns about this as being more of a rural area. The lot sizes are too small. Again, if you looked at the subdivisions nearby, especially to the north and Table Meadows, we have allowed in the past a lot smaller lots, more commensurate with the city of Nampa's future development goals for this area. And then they're concerned that this really should be in the city where it's annexed and connected to city services. Again, the development is designed to one day be annexed into the city, and they will have connection to water. And eventually the facility, the wastewater facility, would be able to be connected to city sanitary services when they're available to be extended to that property. So by all means, this is basically something that will be annexed in the future based on the agreement between the developer and the city. With that, staff is recommending approval. This is very similar or the same recommendation that the Planning and Zoning Commission forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners. They felt that this meets all our findings that we have to make. So today, when you make this decision, we have 3 findings, FCOs that you have to review, and we need to do it in an order that first approves the comprehensive plan, or the decision on the comprehensive plan amendment. If approved, you have to sign the resolution that goes with it. Then the next one would be the conditional rezone, which the development agreement would need to be signed as part of that. And then the final decision would be the preliminary plat. And that concludes staff's presentation. Staff is, again, there's a few late exhibits. I just want to put into the record. So number 23 is the late information provided by Beverly Warren regarding traffic information or accident report from the Sheriff's Department. Then this morning we received opposition letter from Jeff Alzado, basically saying they feel that this is still agricultural and should be protected. Exhibit 25 is staff's PowerPoint presentation, and then the applicant has a PowerPoint presentation. We'll add that as 26, and I'll open that up once they're ready to talk. Staff is available to answer questions, but staff is encouraging the board to first open it up to the applicant because they may be able to answer some of the questions you have. Then if you have any additional questions after, staff would be able to answer those.
Okay, very good. Anything more for Dan?
No, I'll wait until we hear from you.
Okay. Heath Clark, name and address, please.
Okay. Members of the commission, Heath Clark, 251 East Front Street in Boise, representing the applicant. And I want to say first, I work with a lot of staff people around the valley. I don't think there's anybody that's more thorough than Dan. I mean, he's a real.
Here. Tiger.
It's great.
So,
Thank you.
appreciate all he does. He's just a pleasure to work with. I am here with members of our team from West Park Company, Taylor Merrill, we have Josh Fry from TO Engineers. He's been doing a lot of work on this. Other members of our team are Keller Associates. They've done the wastewater design for us. And then Mike Black, I think he was going to try and log on the system at some point. He's our wastewater system operator. I'll mention that. You'd asked the question about Britannia.
I did.
Excuse me, Commissioner White. And that is the same system, and it is, in fact, the same operator. So very much, your question was right on. So let's jump in. Dan, next slide, please. As Dan mentioned, this site is located at Southside on the east and Lewis on the north. And I just kind of wanted to give you maybe a zoomed out context for the area. There's been significant residential development in this area. There are schools, there's shopping, and there are 43 subdivisions within a square mile of this property, about 761 residential lots. The project is very much consistent with the area as it is currently built. Next slide, Dan. And then as Dan mentioned, in terms of consistency with prior county actions, Dan mentioned the prior conditional use permits, and I won't belabor these, other than just to make the point that it's been clear that this has been considered by the county as appropriate for residential development. Next slide. Let's talk about what the county has planned for it now. The comprehensive planning supports the use. This is the county's current land use map. The yellow is the residential, the white is the ag, but you can see that it's split by the City of Nampa's area of impact line, which is in blue. Next slide. And per the county's area of impact agreement with the city, the county is to consult Nampa's comprehensive plan in considering the application. The Nampa plan shows all of the area currently within Nampa's area of city impact as low-density residential, which is the yellow that you can see. And it looks a little funny. It looks like it's cut off right now. Nampa's map currently ends there on their website, so that's why it looks like we're not showing the entirety of the property. But as you read in the correspondence, Nampa is currently preparing an application to come back and talk to you folks about renegotiating that area of impact boundary to add this area. They are supporting a low-density designation, low-density residential development in this location. Easy for me to say. And then just to confirm, in terms of services, it will connect to Nampa City water, which means that we have to sign a pre-annexation agreement, which means that once the borders are there, we're in. With regard to sewer, there's not capacity in the line is what I understand right now, and it's also a little bit away. And so that's why we're proposing the private wastewater system, which I'll show you a few more details on here in a minute. But Dan's comments were spot on that this is designed such that once sewer is available to the project, you basically flip the switch, take the wastewater system out, and you connect to sewer. So it will act like a regular city subdivision.
And I think, if I recall, in our master plan, when I was working with the city of Nampa, did master planning for that area out there, and they were talking about an additional sewer processing plant out in that area because it's much lower than the current plant, and it takes some tremendous pumping to get it back there. So I know they've been looking at doing some sort of additional processing out in that area, and this would take care of it until something like that happens.
That's exactly right, and it's being done with a biomembrane reactor system,
right,
which is
right,
very
right.
Modern technology.
Yeah, familiar with that.
Very, very little impact and no nitrate impact. Let's go to the next slide, Dan. Just again, this is just to kind of reemphasize that this is not an outlier. This looks like the rest of the area as it's currently built and as it's planned. Next slide. Next slide. A little more on the site geology. So the map that Dan provided you was the original map that was with our geotech, and then we've since updated it again. You know, we need to make sure we know exactly what we're up against. And this is what we call a heat map. It shows in red the areas where the rock is very much near the surface. So you can see that there's a fair amount of difficulty with being able to farm it. Next slide. You know, more on the ground evidence of that. You know, these are the spoils from the New York Canal excavation project. The spoils are still on the property, and you can see how much rock came out when they did that digging. We do believe that this is better suited to residential uses in terms of on-the-ground conditions, in addition to the planning that we've discussed already. Next slide. So with that background, this is a view of the project itself. Just a few things to emphasize. Want to emphasize the landscape buffers along the south side on the east and Lewis on the north. There will be curb, gutter, and sidewalk installed there, so it's, again, teed up to be a city development. Each entry faces landscaped areas as you enter the project. We've also transitioned to the neighboring properties. So we put our large lots out there on they're the area in pink on the northwest to try to buffer across the canal. And in terms of, I think it might have been Commissioner Van Beek asked the question about lot sizes. Just something to point out is that in the R1, when you connect to city water or sewer, the lot size can actually go down to 12,000 square feet. So that's part of what we're dealing with here, is that with the city connections, that actually gives a little bit more flexibility in terms of lot sizes. We've placed the common area in the center of the project, and we've oriented the lots to minimize the impact to the neighbor on the south to the extent that we can. And the highest density is where it should be, which is up against Lewis along a transportation corridor with access. Next slide. So some numbers, just to reemphasize, 184 buildable lots, 12 acres of open space, or about 8% of the project. I think that's a great amenity for those folks that are going to live there. And walkways, in addition to the regular sidewalks and whatnot, there's going to be a north-south regional pathway connection that Nampa has requested and that the developer will be providing. Next slide. It'll be a high-quality development. These are the building elevation types that will be required. Next slide. So let's talk about agency discussions and requirements. As you know, this is a pretty thick binder you guys have all got. There's been a lot of work that's been done on this over the last more than a year, and that's reflected in the number of documents that you have in the file. In terms of discussions with county staff, one of the things that they wanted was to see the transitions that I described. So that's kind of where that pink lot idea came from, and trying to transition out to the transportation corridors. And also a suggestion that the roads be public, which is what we went with. Next slide. In terms of traffic, let's dive into that. So that, again, the traffic impacts have been studied. A TIS has been reviewed and approved by the Highway District, by the City of Nampa. It found that all the area roadways are within capacity, but I'll provide a couple of clarifications to address some of your questions, Commissioner Van Beek. So the only a deficiency that was originally identified, and that was with the first iteration of the TIS, was at south side and local, so about a mile north of the property. And that was an existing deficiency, one that existed prior to this project being a twinkle in anyone's eye. So the original version of the TIS identified that with the low level of service that you identified. But in May of 2019, a four-way stop was put in, and so that increased the level of service there, so no longer a deficiency. So there was a new TIS draft that was submitted as a result of that. And then the City of Nampa, not Nampa Highway District, the City of Nampa has that intersection on their work plan to improve to I think they're going to do a traffic signal, if I remember correctly.
It's right on the corner by Lava Springs.
I think that's right, yeah, that's right. So we believe that all of that's addressed. With regard to the right turn lanes, the traffic impact study did not indicate that they were warranted, but Nampa Highway District requested them, and we have included them. So that's on south side. Next slide. So just to kind of wrap that up, both the city and Nampa Highway District Number 1 have approved the TIS. I think it's important to point out that we are building those internal roads to City of Nampa standards. So it's going to match the city standards as it comes in. And then that includes the 50-foot roadway dedications, sidewalk, et cetera, along the exterior boundaries. That's on those exterior boundaries, that's a 25-foot landscape buffer with trees every 25 linear feet, shrubs, all of that. So it'll look nice when it's developed. It'll be properly invested in. Next slide. Again, this is the road layout with the 2 accesses on south side and the single access on west. Next slide, and I'll try to get this wrapped up for everybody. A couple things to emphasize with the city. We are meeting the requirements that they've identified in their letters. That includes the Stoddard Public Pathway that I mentioned, the north-south pathway through the center of the project. That's within that, what was going to be a railroad corridor. Yep. We would be updating there's an existing municipal water service agreement on the property, so we would be updating that to match current conditions. And then with regard to sewer, so as we've discussed, we'd be installing the batch reactor. There will be a storage pond, but that pond only holds treated, disinfected water, and it's an evaporative pond, so it's nothing going into the ground. But here's the most important thing. Any of these have to be approved by DEQ and Southwest District Health. And we have to prove that up at every phase of the project before they will lift sanitary restrictions, so we can get people to.
Okay, so does that provide any aesthetics once that water's, I mean, if it's a treated pond, do you walk around it, do you plant things around it?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Van Beek, we will have landscape around it, and I expect with the proper permitting that there would be some reuse of the water to do that landscaping, but generally that's not one where we want people, diving in and splashing. So
I just wondered how clean it was, or if it was a feature you could use in the aftermath. So thank you.
No, I appreciate that question. Thank you.
And I'd say, just to add to that, I think it's definitely clean water.
Correct.
But you don't want kids running around throwing rocks into it and stuff like that, which you would get if it was just, I see how these ponds are used, and they get used and abused if they're public access.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll look nice, but it's a working area, is the way I would put it.
Size on this?
I can actually show you a slide here. Dan, can next slide? So this is that area in the southwest, well, I guess basically the central western area of the project, because we have the kind of odd shape to the project. But yeah, it will be in that area there, kind of near the canal. So that also then having it there also buffers it from neighbors a little bit further as well.
And no leaching of that, or does it matter?
No leaching. The pond is lined,
Oh,
so
okay,
to avoid any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, next slide. So just to clarify on the schools, so the property is split between 2 home school zones. So it's going to be, we're going to be working with the school district to make sure that Ronald Reagan, East Valley, and Columbia is where all of our students will end up going. And then in addition, we will be working with the school district to identify bus stops, and I expect that would be just within, maybe on the north side where we have the loop, so the bus can come in and back out, maybe on the east side similarly, but we'll work with the school district to put that where they want it. And we do have a condition of approval and in our DA requiring us to address those issues with the school district.
I don't know if you're going to get into this, Madam Chair, but there's also the New Horizons School out there, which is part of the Nampa School District. It's not really a charter school. It's a specialty school. I think they still teach Spanish out there. They started it out as a dual language school. And then, of course, you've got the 2 charter schools, Liberty and Victory, out there. And I'm sure some of these people will end up sending their kids to those places. So it's got a lot of schools around there.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at how many schools are in this area when I first started looking at it. Okay, next one. Oh, we lost it. Okay, so on irrigation, coming back. We have been working with Nampa Meridian for quite some time. Even before all of this, we provided 1,400 feet of reinforced concrete pipe for them to pipe the Burke Canal that was installed last winter. So trying to do our part to make sure that all these systems work efficiently. The system will serve, there'll be a pressurized irrigation system serving all of the folks who live in the project. That will be owned and administered by Nampa Meridian with the pump station. So we will be building that to Nampa Meridian specs. They're going to control how this thing gets set up, where everything goes. And to your question about delivery to, we have to build to Nampa Meridian's requirements. We can relocate deliveries within our property. I just want to clarify that. Relocate them, we just can't block someone from getting access to the water to which they're legally entitled. And so we'll be working with Nampa Meridian to make sure all of those issues are addressed.
And is this, the discharge, does it go into the New York Canal, or where's the end user? Does tailwater, what is?
Tailwater does.
Okay.
Tailwater.
Madam Chair, it does go into the New York Canal. Okay, so I will wrap up now with one more slide. Just to kind of emphasize that residential use is consistent not only with the existing uses, but prior county approvals and county and city planning. We have met all of the agency comments, and we are within the Nampa area city impact, and so we've been very careful making sure that their concerns are addressed. I haven't noted this until just now, but the applicant did offer up a development agreement, which should help give everyone some more assurance that this is going to go exactly how you expect it's going to go. And that gives you teeth if that doesn't end up being the case. P&Z unanimously recommended approval, and we are in agreement with terms and conditions of the staff report. We're not asking for any changes on that. So with that, I ask for your approval and be happy to answer any questions. I'm looking at my list here to see if I missed anything.
And so I just have a couple of, they're superficial questions, but is the layout of this property where you've got a little tail down there to the south, how did that come about that you have that 27 acres that's just that piece wide enough for a couple of houses?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Van Beek, that's what we were able to get under contract and wanted to have, whenever you're doing a project like this and you have to do your own wastewater system, you need to get to a critical mass in terms of number of lots. Right. And so we need to get as much in there as we can to make it pencil.
Okay, and then there is some topography out there. It's kind of rolling, is it not? It's with that. So I guess I'm just saying on the farming aspect of that ground and support has not been farmed for a number of years. And the incline on that would be challenging along with the boulders that are there. And then can you go back or on this and talk about where the connectivity would be for the Wilson Creek Trail? How does, I'm wanting to look at the bigger view. I thought that
it doesn't connect to Wilson Creek.
Yeah.
Well, I thought
Stoddard.
Okay, so maybe I misunderstood what Dan said. There's Wilson Creek, and I thought he indicated that a walking trail would connect at some point in the future, those two.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Van Beek, so what we're talking about in this case is the Stoddard Creek Trail. Okay. And so I don't think it connects to the property at this point, correct? But what we've done is we've reserved area for it to go all the way from the north to the south through what was previously that railway corridor.
Okay, and Dan, are you able to just give us a visual of what that looks like with your crayon?
Excuse me, what was that again?
I was wondering if you could show a map that highlights that Stoddard Creek Trail.
Not a creek, it's just a Stoddard Trail. There's no creek there.
Yep.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, so this is Wilson Springs, and then Stoddard kind of comes up somewhere like that. It's the old railroad area that
railroad bed used to have, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can pull that up.
They won't ever connect?
Not with Wilson.
Okay.
Madam Chair, it does, I pulled up the Nampa Pathways Plan, and it's the Wilson Pathway does connect to Stoddard north of Locust. That's the
Correct.
long-term plan.
Long-term plan, it's not there now.
But it's not there.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking for, was the long-term plan for the city of Nampa. So thank you for that. And so they do have an adopted pathway.
Yep.
Okay.
We did that a long time ago.
Yeah, that's a question though for Caleb, with the city of Nampa, because I thought the Stoddard plan was, off.
Well,
They aren't gonna give the land, the railroad and whatever, so I want to get some clarity on that
I think
from
they bought
Caleb,
that finally.
how they're doing that, how they're working through that, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Next, Joshua Fry. Name and address, please.
Joshua Fry, 2 Engineers, 332 North Broadmoor Avenue, Tampa.
Okay.
Morning, Commissioners. Just 3 quick things I wanted to add to Heath's presentation. Thanks, Heath. Commissioner Van Beek, you asked for clarification earlier about the fatal accident and how they seem to be different intersections. In Exhibit 23 from Beverly Warren, the information in there, to me, how I read it, I see that fatal accident actually being down at Deer Flat, is that road? Deer Flat and South Side.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. One more thing, just want to clarify on something he said earlier. The South Side and Lewis Road improvements will not contain curb and gutter. We will set up sidewalk at a width for the city to come through later and widen and put in curb and gutter. The city has not asked us to put in curb and gutter. It will just be roadway wide enough to allow for those turn lanes and then a borrowed ditch. And then the last quick thing I had, your question about the flag lot to the south. Kind of the history on that property is, I don't know if you remember that map from the original back in 2007 subdivision that was approved. That piece of land was included with that smaller piece of land. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it well.
Is that the bottom,
Dan's gonna help me out here.
is that the bottom 27 acres or something?
Mhm.
So this was the original piece of land that was acquired by the applicant.
Okay.
And the plan was to have access through the railroad parcel to the north. The development needed to have 2 accesses for traffic, and we could not get that second access to the north. So the applicant ended up acquiring the additional land that you do not see included in that map. And so that's how that little flag parcel to the south was involved. It was part of the original. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
I'm sure just one question maybe for, I don't know who's going to deal with it. Those smaller 12,000 square foot lots, will that look similar to some of that development in Nampa where it's new to this area, at least I haven't seen it, but it really goes up like something in the northeast corner of the United States, no, nothing like that?
Madam Chair, it's a pretty large lot, the 12,000 square foot.
Okay.
That's
That's a typical, I mean, a suburban, a regular.
it's a quarter-acre lot, right?
Detached
Yeah.
house.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Some of that, even along, I think it's Midland or north of Steel Falls, they're building really narrow lots, really narrow.
Those would be more, I would say probably maybe 4,000 square foot lot or
Okay.
much smaller.
Thank you for the clarification. Sometimes difficult with someone looking at a development of this size, and when we look at smaller lots, comparatively speaking, then we need to put it in context with the 1 acre versus 12,000. So I appreciate the clarification on that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Van Beek, I'd just say, yeah, 12,000 is not quite a quarter acre, so relatively big still.
Okay.
Talking basically 3 to 4 houses per acre once you consider all the improvements.
Correct.
A weekend's worth of grass. One day.
Yeah, one day, yeah.
Okay, don't have anyone else signed up to speak.
I think this gentleman came in before we took a shoot, and then there's someone else on WebEx.
Okay. Did you wish to speak? No. Okay. And Michael Williams Black. Michael Williams Black, do you wish to speak?
Madam Chair, Mr. Black is our wastewater operator, so if he doesn't pick up, then
Okay.
I think we would just try to catch him if there are specific questions for him.
Okay.
You know, Madam Chair, I don't really have any, I've gone through these kind of processes before with these self-contained processing plants, and they've been approved and scientifically designed to take care of that for this particular size. They work well.
You know, and Madam Chair, Commissioner Dale, you know, I think something that's really cool about them is that they can be phased, right, to increase. So, you know, Dry Creek Ranch was a project I was involved with off the Highway 55, so it starts with a smaller one. You add the phases as you go, but modern technology, very well proven. And we're pretty far down the line on this. Technical, financial, managerial manuals are already underway and being reviewed, so.
Okay, there's no one, Tricia.
Yeah, if there's someone else, I just wanted to put on the record that, based on, this is probably related to COVID, left hand, right hand, we're going to be contracting with another engineer to review the final plat and all of it as it goes on to avoid any conflict that Keller may have in terms of behavior. We're very apologetic about. When everybody was working from home and wastewater people and the other. So while they did the review of the application and preliminary plat, just because of that conflict, we'll have another engineering firm review the final plat. So just for this particular case, it's something we've anticipated may come up, and it's something that, you know, it happens. So,
Thank you.
but we wanted to make sure that was, that conflict was addressed.
And Madam Chair, so along that line, and this representative from QA Engineering, so there's distance there between your PMC commissioner and was there a review?
Oh, no, it's the Keller is our.
No, I understand on that part, but I'm saying for the second part, you know, where we have a commissioner that's on PMC and he's also.
Oh, yeah, he's always recused himself. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't picking up what you were putting down there.
Fine.
Yeah, he recused himself, at PNC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then, Madam Chair, did you have a question for Mr. Leclerc that you wanted answered or no? Was that answered?
Yes, Caleb, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Okay, I do have a question about that Stoddard. Is that Stoddard thing, is that moving forward? Because I thought that the railroad changed their mind, or they were not available, or something happened with that.
No, that's not my understanding.
Okay.
The railroad has relinquished their right-of-way either directly to the city or there have been a few property owner disputes on it. And in those cases, it ended up reverting back to the original property owner or the adjacent property owner. My understanding is we have, in those cases, agreements with those individuals that they will then dedicate the pathway right-of-way back to the city at such time that the property annexes.
And then the annexation into the city, that is, how far away is this from being annexable?
Let me look real quick. My memory tells me it's about a mile to the north, but I can tell you with certainty in just a moment.
Seems like it's, yeah, I thought I read a half, but I don't know.
Yeah, you showed us that one slide, Dan, that had that on there. It was 4C, I believe.
Yeah.
4C.
4I, 4C. There's several maps that show it.
Yeah, so you're correct. It's about a half mile to the north at Alma Lane.
Good. So in your best guesstimate, how long that, I mean, you know, it's building up fast and stuff like that, and they're going to request that it be the impact area be extended to that, to include the 27 acres, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, okay.
You know, obviously, it's difficult to say how long.
Sure.
Commissioner Dale alluded to, you know, this whole southern area of the city is a little bit challenged in terms of sewer serviceability. There are a number of extremely high-ticket items, cost items that need to be addressed really before we're able to get sewer out to this region of the city. We can do some service, you know, kind of north of Lewis Lane, but beyond that, anything south of Lewis Lane for sure is just constrained by the
There's some solid rock walls, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you, Caleb. Anything else you need to add?
Nothing on my end unless anybody else has questions.
Looks like no, we're good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, I don't see anybody else who wishes to speak. I'll make a motion that we close the public comment.
Second.
Moved and seconded to close public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I am looking at this project, and I want to provide support for Mr. Clark's comments that Dan has done a really good job with the staff report. I also appreciate the input by geoengineers and the presentation by Mr. Clark. And in looking at the things that we get to make decisions on and how well this fits in an area, Dan has outlined 15 different components from the comprehensive plan that embrace property rights, population, schools, economic development, land use policies, public services, facilities, utilities, and community design. So its use of the comprehensive plan in support of this project is a very good indicator that the board has what they need to move forward in improving this, that overcomes the objections that have been raised by people that may not be in favor or have the same vision on what that looks like. But it looks like a good project to me, and I'm in favor of approving this project as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Van Beek. Commissioner Gill?
And Madam Chair, I just pulled up my satellite map just to kind of take a look at the area again. And really, if you look at this area, it's all going residential. There are a few outliers of 20-acre, looks like maybe 30-acre, 40-acre fields out there still being farmed, but they're being surrounded pretty quickly by residential. And this project fits in with that, and I'm comfortable with it only in light of the fact that they have an agreement to be annexed into the city. I am a firm believer that this type of development should be in city limits. We have had some occasions in the city of Nampa where water has been extended to different places and when possible sewer, always with the stipulation that when they become annexable, when they become contiguous to the city, they must annex. And those have all worked out very well as far as I'm aware with the city of Nampa and all those portions. Most of those have been annexed already. But I agree with Commissioner Van Beek that this is compatible with this area. I think Planning and Zoning has done a good job in their recommendation and their analysis. And Dan, I appreciate your exhaustive study of this project. I would say you provided more information on this than we normally get, and I really appreciate that work. Madam Chair, I'm in favor of this. I think it fits with the area and will be an improvement on that area there as well.
I will say I'm very familiar with this area. My kids, probably 15 years ago or more, built off of South Side, on the other side of South Side, right? Kind of in the, where the line goes down and it's left open there, there's no, before the 27, right in between there. And they put an in-ground pool in and they had to use dynamite. So it is a lot of basalt. There's a lot of basalt. It is really, really rocky in there. And we did get letters from people and concerns. And one I want to address on the record, and that is the Deer Flat South Side intersection. That is an accident and a death waiting to happen. It really is. When the kids lived there, a 17-year-old girl her life was taken right there in an accident. And it seemed like probably every weekend there was one right there. So that one, I hear that they did all these intersections and they found no, situations or no trouble spots. Well, I don't do traffic impact studies, so I don't know. I'm not the expert, and I don't know how they do it, and I know that they're very thorough, and I know that they do have a complete, a complex way to figure it all out for the safety of development and citizens and drivers as well. But I will say that we did get this from, is it Beverly? Yes, Warren, and all of those accidents are at Deer Flat, and I think that is something that maybe as a commissioner I will put some attention to, because that intersection needs to be tended to. That one, and this will be a right out from their subdivision. It's a right out, and Deer Flat then is a straight shot over to, of course, Highway 45 and back into a quick way to Nampa. And it's a kind of a thoroughfare for a lot of different reasons. So, and plus Southside, let's face it, that's a direct lane to Melba and, the rest of Canyon County. So I do want to make a point to have that intersection looked at, because it is a busy place. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, to that citizen, and thank you for allowing me the time to. Commissioner Van Beek.
Yes, I just wanted to put, and I appreciate your comments, Madam Chair, and your commitment to the safety of citizens. That's also in our conversation. But I do want to say that and recognize that this applicant has extended courtesy beyond what's normally required. So the vision to build roads out and to make that consistent and easy for me to come into, I really appreciate that. I wish they were all that well thought out and that there was that much of a coordinated effort. There are other areas that we're having to make decisions on where that cooperative effort isn't in place, and it puts an unfair burden on the commissioners, and then it creates tension between developers and city services that doesn't need to be there. It needs to be a well-vetted plan like this one, and so I just wanted to recognize the applicant for that, so thank you.
And one more thing I will say is I'm also very familiar with Britannia and that sewer on-site community sewer system, and that is phenomenal. That is, I remember that individual coming here, Hess, that when he presented one of the phases of Britannia, and that system, it's just phenomenal. So that makes there's no smell, there's no odor. It is just, I'm thinking they could put a fountain thing in it and you would never know, but that would be a tractor, and then people want to go down there and sit and have picnics and stuff. Well, you don't want to do that. So, but that's a very well thought out and a very nice way to put it together. So thank you for the foresight on all of that. So,
Madam Chair, I think we're going to do this, and we have, Dan, if you could put that back there. There was 3 separate actions we need to do.
Comp plan.
Okay.
And the resolution.
Here we go. Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve the comprehensive plan amendment. That's OR 2019-0009.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve the comp plan amendment. All in favor? Aye.
And then, Madam Chair, in the decision option, it also included CR 2019 that, I guess maybe that's a repeat, and then 0036. So, yes.
Yep, they're up there, right. And so,
That includes the findings and facts.
yeah, I'm getting to it. I was going to do 3 different. Yeah, I'm doing a systematic approach, okay. So secondly, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the conditional rezone subject to the conditions of approval in the development agreement that we will see at a subsequent time. And that is CR 2019-0009.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the conditional rezone. All in favor? Aye.
Finally, I would like the motion that we approve the preliminary plat subject to conditions of approval. Is that ready to go?
Yeah, I guess with the DA, what was the timing on that? Dan?
Dan?
The development agreement?
Right. That needs to.
Do we want to wait till that preliminary plat until we get the DA?
Yeah.
The DA is with you. The DA is provided.
Oh, it is ready. Okay, it
Yeah.
is ready to sign.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll make that motion that we approve the preliminary plat subject to the conditions of the approval that we have with us here.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve preliminary plat. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I think-
Thank you for a good presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And the DA, need a notary.
Oh, okay.
Dan.
Dan, we need a notary.
Okay, I'll send Kathy over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That would conclude this meeting. Thank you very much, all of you that took part.
I just remember when we